The plains were wide and endless, stretching farther than the eye could see. The wind moved through the tall grass like a whisper, carrying stories from one place to another. Some stories were about brave hunters. Some were about great battles. But one name was always spoken with a lower voice. She was the Warlord. No one said her name loudly unless they were ready to face her. She was not just a leader. She was the storm people feared when the sky was still clear. She did not shout. She did not boast. She did not waste words. When she spoke, people listened. When she fought, people fell. She had never lost a battle, not once. Her people followed her because she was strong, but also because she was fair. She did not lead for power. She led because she believed her people must survive in a world that showed no mercy. And the world truly showed no mercy. Rival tribes fought for land. Hunters fought for food. Strangers brought danger from far away. Every day was a test of strength, of will, of survival. She understood that better than anyone. That was why she became what she was. She stood on a high ridge that morning, looking over the land. The sun was just rising, painting the sky in soft orange and gold. It was peaceful, almost too peaceful. She did not trust peace. Peace was often the moment before something broke. Her long dark hair moved with the wind, and her eyes stayed sharp, always watching. Even when nothing was happening, she looked as if she was ready for war. One of her scouts approached quietly from behind. He did not speak at first. No one interrupted her thoughts without reason. "There is someone coming," he finally said, and she did not turn. "How many?" "One." Now she turned. Her eyes narrowed slightly. "One?" "Yes." That did not make sense. No one traveled alone into her lands, not unless they were lost or foolish or very dangerous. "Armed?" she asked. The scout hesitated. "He has a blade," he said, "but he does not hold it." That made even less sense. She stepped forward slightly, looking out toward the horizon. "Does he walk like a warrior?" she asked. The scout shook his head. "No, he walks like..." He paused, searching for the right words. "Like he does not fear anything." That was wrong. Everyone feared something, especially here. The Warlord began walking down from the ridge without another word. Her steps were calm, but there was purpose in them. Her warriors nearby noticed the shift immediately. Something was happening, and they followed her without being told. As they moved, more scouts joined them, all watching the same direction. Far in the distance, a figure slowly became clearer. A man, alone, walking straight toward them. He was not rushing. He was not sneaking. He was not trying to hide. He walked like he had all the time in the world. That alone made the warriors uneasy. "Should we stop him now?" one of them asked quietly. The Warlord shook her head. "No." Her voice was steady. "Let him come." As the man got closer, the details became clearer. He was not dressed like any tribe they knew. His clothes were simple, worn from travel. Dust covered his boots. His face showed signs of a long journey. But his eyes were calm, too calm. He looked at the Warlord's people, not with fear, not with anger, but with something else. On something none of them understood. Recognition. As if he had seen them before. As if he had expected this moment. The warriors surrounded him before he reached the center of the camp. They moved fast and silent, forming a circle around him. Spears and blades were ready. He stopped walking, but he did not react. He did not reach for his weapon. He did not try to run. He simply stood there, waiting. The Warlord stepped forward through the circle. Now they stood face to face. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The wind moved between them, carrying dust and silence. She studied him carefully, every movement, every breath. He showed no sign of fear. That alone made him dangerous. "Why are you here?" she finally asked. Her voice was calm, but it carried weight. The man looked at her, really looked at her, not like others did. Not like someone looking at a warlord, but like someone looking at a person. "I came to see you," he said. Murmurs spread through the warriors. That was not a normal answer. That was not even a smart answer. The warlord's expression did not change. "You walked into my land," she said. "Alone, without permission." "Yes," he replied. No apology, no excuse, just the truth. Her eyes narrowed slightly. "You know who I am?" she asked. "Yes." "Then you know what happens to strangers who come here." "Yes." Still no fear. Still no hesitation. Something about this was wrong. Most men, when standing before her, tried to prove themselves. They spoke loudly. They made threats. They showed fear even when they tried to hide it. This man did none of that. He stood like he had already accepted whatever would happen. That made her uneasy. Not afraid, but alert. Very alert. "Then why come?" she asked. He took a small step closer. Some of the warriors reacted instantly, tightening their grip on their weapons. But the warlord raised her hand slightly. They stopped. The man looked at her again. "I needed to meet you," he said. That answer only made things worse. There was no clear reason, no demand, no challenge. Just something personal. And she did not trust personal reasons. Personal reasons led to unpredictable actions, and unpredictable actions led to danger. She made her decision. He could not stay. He could not walk freely among her people. And she could not allow someone like him to leave without understanding his purpose. There was only one way to resolve this. Like the old way, the way of warriors. "You will fight," she said. The words were simple, final. The circle around them grew tighter. This was something they understood. A challenge, a test, a way to prove truth through strength. The man did not react immediately. He looked at the ground for a brief moment, then back at her. "If I refuse?" he asked. Her expression hardened slightly. "You do not refuse." Silence filled the space again. The wind slowed. Even the grass seemed to stop moving. This moment mattered. Everyone felt it. The man slowly reached for the blade at his side. The warriors tensed. Finally, a sign of action. He pulled the blade out and held it loosely. Not like a fighter, not like someone ready for battle. That made several warriors exchange uneasy looks. This was wrong, and everything about this was wrong. The warlord noticed it too. Her instincts sharpened. This was not going to be a normal fight. She stepped back slightly, creating space between them. The circle widened. The ground between them became a place of decision. Life or death. Victory or defeat. This was the language she understood best. And she had never lost. "Fight," she said. Her voice cut through the silence like a blade. The man stood still. He did not raise his weapon. He did not move into position. He just looked at her. And for the first time, something unfamiliar touched her thoughts. Not fear, not doubt, but something close to confusion. Why was he not preparing? Why was he not reacting? Why did he look at her like this was not a battle at all? The wind picked up again, stronger now, moving between them. The warriors watched closely. No one spoke. No one moved. They all waited for the first strike. The moment everything would begin. But the man did not attack. He took a step forward instead. Not fast, not aggressive. Just one simple step. Closer to her, a ripple of tension spread through the circle. This was not how fights began. This was not how warriors moved. Something was about to happen. Something none of them expected. And the Warlord, for the first time in a long time, felt that this fight would not follow any rules she knew. The wind moved harder now, pushing through the circle of warriors like it was trying to warn them. Dust lifted from the ground and spun in small circles around their feet. The air felt tight, heavy, like something important was about to break. The Warlord stood still, her eyes locked on the man. He had taken one step forward, only one. But it was enough to change everything. This was not how a fight began. A real warrior would step back first, create space, raise his weapon, prepare his body. He would show his strength, his skill, his intention to survive. This man did none of that. He stepped closer, closer to danger, closer to death. The warriors around them shifted slightly. Some tightened their grip on their weapons. Others looked at each other with confusion. "Is he mad?" one of them whispered. "No," another replied quietly. "He is something else." The Warlord heard none of it. Her focus was complete, sharp, unbroken. She had faced hundreds of fighters. She had seen fear, anger, pride, and even desperation. But this was new. "Fight," she said again. Her voice was stronger this time, carrying authority, leaving no space for misunderstanding. The man looked at her, still calm, still steady. "I am not here to fight you," he said. The words hit the circle like a sudden crack of thunder. Murmurs spread instantly. Not fight? That was impossible. No one stood in a warrior's circle and refused. It was not just a rule, it was a way of life. To refuse was to insult the warrior, the people, the land itself. The Warlord's eyes darkened slightly. "You are here," she said slowly, "and you were given a blade." Her voice dropped lower. "That means you fight." The man shook his head. A simple movement, but it carried weight. "No," he said quietly. The silence that followed was heavy, dangerous. This was no longer confusion. This was defiance. The warriors felt it, and they waited for her reaction, for the command, for the strike. But the Warlord did not move yet. She studied him again, closer this time. His breathing was calm. His hands were relaxed, even the way he held the blade. It was wrong, loose, uncertain, like it did not belong to him. "You refuse to fight," she said. "Yes." "And you still stand here?" "Yes." "You understand what that means?" "Yes." Still no fear, still no hesitation. That made something cold move through her chest. Not doubt, but awareness. This man was not confused. He was choosing this. Most people who refused to fight did so out of fear. They begged. They stepped back. They tried to escape. This man did not do any of that. He stood in the center of danger and simply refused. That was not fear. That was something stronger, something harder to understand. "Then why take the blade?" she asked. He looked at the weapon in his hand, as if he had just remembered it was there. "They gave it to me," he said. "That is not an answer. It is the only one I have." The warriors were growing restless. This was not right. This was not a proper challenge. This was not honor. One of them stepped forward slightly. "Warlord," he said, "this man wastes your time. Let me end this." The Warlord raised her hand again. No, not yet. There was something here she needed to understand. Something just out of reach. "You came into my land," she said, her voice calm but sharper now. "You stand before me. You refuse to fight." She took a step forward. Now they were closer than before. "You speak without fear." Another step, when you do not defend yourself. Another step. You do not run. Now they were only a short distance apart, close enough to see every detail, every small movement. Why? She asked. The man looked at her for a long moment, not at her weapons, not at the warriors around them, only at her. I did not come here for a fight, he said. I came here for you. The words landed heavily, different from before, more direct, more personal. The warriors reacted immediately. Some stepped forward, others raised their weapons higher. This was no longer just strange. This was dangerous, very dangerous. The warlord's expression did not change, but inside, something shifted. No one spoke to her like this. No one came for her. They came to challenge her, to defeat her, to survive her. But not this. Never this. And you do not know me, she said. The man shook his head slightly. I know enough. That answer only made things worse. Her grip tightened slightly on her blade. Enough. This had gone far enough. Without warning, she moved. Fast. Faster than most could see. Her blade cut through the air in a clean, powerful strike aimed directly at him. This was the end. It always was. One strike, one moment, one decision. That was all it took. But something unexpected happened. The man did not block. He did not counter. He did not even fully step away. He shifted. Just enough. Her blade passed through the space where he had been a second before. The sound of the strike cutting through air echoed sharply. Gasps broke from the warriors. He should have been hit. He should have been down. But he wasn't. Before anyone could fully react, she turned and struck again. This time faster, lower, more precise. Again. He did not fight. He moved closer, not away. Closer. The second strike missed, barely. Too close, too dangerous. This was not skill in the normal way. This was something else, something that did not follow rules. The warlord's eyes narrowed. Now she was fully focused. No more testing, no more waiting. This was a real fight now, whether he accepted it or not. She attacked again, a series of fast, controlled strikes, each one designed to end the fight, each one perfect, each one deadly. And yet, he did not fight back. He moved through the strikes, around them, closer each time, step by step, like he was not trying to win, like he was trying to reach her. The warriors were no longer just confused, and they were unsettled. This was not a fight. This was something else, something they did not understand. Why is he not attacking? One whispered. He will die if he continues, another said. But even as they spoke, they could see it. He was not losing, not in the way they expected. The warlord felt it too. Her attacks were not landing, not because he was stronger, not because he was faster, but because he was not fighting the same way. He was not trying to defeat her. He was moving with a different purpose, and that made him unpredictable. She stepped back for a moment, creating space again, resetting. Her breathing was still controlled, but her mind was working faster now. This man was not a warrior, but he was not weak. He was something else entirely. Fight me, she said again. This time, and there was something different in her voice. Not just command, something deeper, a need to understand. The man stood still, closer now than before, closer than anyone had ever stood to her in a fight and lived. I am here, he said softly. That is enough. The wind grew stronger again, pulling at their clothes, their hair, their balance. The circle of warriors felt like it was shrinking, even though no one moved. Everything was focused on the two figures in the center. The warlord made her decision. No more hesitation, no more questions. She would end this. Now. She lifted her blade one final time, Higher. Stronger. This strike would not miss. This strike would not be avoided. This strike would decide everything. The man did not move back. He did not prepare. He did not raise his weapon. Instead, he stepped forward again, closing the distance completely. A ripple of shock moved through the warriors. "No," someone started to say. But it was too late. Her blade came down. Fast. Final. The blade came down fast. It cut through the air with deadly force, aimed to finish everything in one clean strike. Every warrior watching knew this moment. They had seen it before. This was how it always ended. No one escaped this. No one stepped inside this. No one survived this. But he did. Instead of moving away, instead of raising his weapon, instead of fighting, he stepped forward, closer, straight into danger. The warlord's blade should have met him, should have cut through him, should have ended the fight. But it didn't. At the last moment, his body shifted just enough. Not fast, not powerful, just precise. The blade passed by him, so close it brushed the air near his skin. The sound of it echoed sharp and loud, a sound that should have been followed by silence. But instead, he was still standing. Gasps broke through the circle. Beads. Warriors stepped forward without thinking. Some raised their weapons, others stared, frozen. This was not possible. This was not real. The warlord's eyes widened for a single moment. Only a moment. But it was there. Something had gone wrong. Not in her strike. Her strike was perfect. It always was. But in him, in the way he moved, in the way he chose not to fight. Before she could react again, he moved closer. Too close. Closer than any enemy had ever come and lived. Her body reacted on instinct. She turned, pulling her blade back, preparing another strike. Faster now. Sharper. More dangerous. This time she would not miss. This time she would end it. But he did not give her the chance. He reached for her. That alone broke something in the moment. No one reached for the warlord in battle. No one touched her. Not unless they wanted to die. Her warriors shouted, "Stop him! Kill him!" But their voices came too late. He stepped fully into her space, inside her guard, inside her control, inside the place where no one else had ever stood. And then he kissed her. Everything stopped. The wind died. The movement ended. The tension broke into something else entirely. The warlord froze. Completely. Her body locked in place, her strike unfinished. Her mind empty. Her blade slipped from her fingers. It hit the ground with a dull, heavy sound. A sound louder than any battle cry. And no one moved. No one breathed. The warriors stood frozen, their eyes wide, their minds unable to understand what they had just seen. This was not battle. This was not victory. This was something else, something that did not belong in their world. The man did not rush away. He did not grab her. He did not attack. He simply pulled back, slowly, calmly, like what he had done was not strange, like it was not dangerous, like it was not something that could get him killed in the next second. The warlord still did not move. Her eyes stayed on him, unblinking, uncertain. For the first time in her life, she did not know what to do. Her body had always known. Fight, strike, win, survive. That was her world. That was her truth. But this was outside of all of it. Her warriors looked at her, waiting for the command, waiting for her to move, waiting for the world to return to normal. But it didn't. Inside her, something was shifting. Not weakness, not fear, but something deeper, something she had never faced before. Confusion. Why had he done that? Why had he stepped into death instead of away from it? Why had he refused to fight? Why had he looked at her like she was not a warlord, but something else? Her thoughts moved fast, but none of them gave answers. Only more questions. The man stood in front of her, still calm, still steady, still looking at her in that same way. Not like an enemy, not like someone who had just risked his life, but like someone who had made a choice, a choice he believed in. Her breath finally moved again, slow, controlled, but different. You, she started, but the words did not come easily. She had spoken in battle her whole life, given orders, spoken with power, with certainty. But now, her voice felt unfamiliar. You should be dead, she said finally. The words were simple, but they carried truth. The man nodded slightly. I know, he said. That answer did not help. It made everything worse. You stepped into my strike, she said. Yes. You did not defend yourself. No. You did not fight. No. Her eyes searched his face, looking for something, anything, a reason, a weakness, a lie. But there was none. Why? She asked. The word came out softer than she expected. The man held her gaze. I told you, he said quietly. I came for you. The silence that followed was different now. Not tense, not waiting for violence, but heavy, full, and the warriors did not understand. They still held their weapons, still ready. But something had changed. Their warlord had dropped her blade. That had never happened before, not in battle, not in training, not ever. And now she stood there, unarmed, unmoving, thinking. That alone was more shocking than anything else. The man took a small step back, not in fear, not to escape, but to give space. He did not push further, did not try to take advantage, did not try to control the moment. He simply waited. That, more than anything else, made the moment real. If this had been a trick, he would have attacked. If this had been a plan, he would have acted. But he didn't. He trusted the moment. Trusted her. And that was something she was not used to. People did not trust her. They feared her, respected her, and followed her. But they did not trust her. Not like this. Her eyes dropped for a brief second. To the blade on the ground. Her blade. The symbol of everything she was. Everything she had built. Everything she had fought for. And she had let it fall. Not because she was defeated, not because she was overpowered, but because she did not understand. Her gaze lifted again to the man. He stood there quietly. No weapon raised, no threat, no fear, just presence. And somehow, that had stopped her more completely than any enemy ever had. The wind slowly returned, moving through the grass again. Soft, quiet, like the world itself was unsure what to do next. The warriors waited, still, silent. Their warlord had not given an order, and until she did, nothing would move. She took a slow breath, then another. Her mind was no longer in battle, no longer focused on winning. It was searching. The circle of warriors stood frozen. Dust drifted in the wind like tiny ghosts, sparkling in the sunlight. Every face showed the same disbelief, the same confusion, the same fear. No one had ever seen the warlord unarmed. No one had ever seen her hesitate. And now, she did neither. She just stood, staring at the human. Her chest rose and fell slowly. Her heart pounded. But it was not the rhythm of battle. It was a rhythm she did not recognize. Every fiber of her body wanted to strike, to move, to win, to command. But her mind refused. Something inside had shifted. The human's eyes were steady, calm, almost unreadable. He did not flinch under her stare. He did not step forward or back. He did not speak. though his presence spoke louder than words ever could. The warlord took a small step back. Her fingers twitched slightly, craving the weight of her blade, but it was not hers now. The metal had fallen, a sound she could not take back. The moment it touched the ground, it marked a turning point she had never imagined. The warriors whispered among themselves. Some tried to shift closer, but she lifted a hand, and they froze instantly. Her authority did not need the blade to be felt. It was in her gaze, in the stillness of her body, in the history that had carried her through countless battles. "This is not right," one warrior muttered under his breath. The warlord's voice cut through the soft murmurs. "No one moves," she said. The command was quiet, yet it held absolute weight. Not even the human stirred. For a long moment, time itself seemed suspended. The wind slowed. The sun seemed to hang above them, as if the world itself were watching, waiting. Finally, she spoke again. Her voice was quieter this time, almost a whisper. "Why are you here? Tell me." The human's gaze did not waver. "I came so you would stop." The words were simple, but they struck harder than any blade. The warlord blinked. Her lips parted, but no words came. Her warriors stiffened, exchanging glances, unable to understand what had just been said. Stop? Stop what? Stop fighting? Stop ruling? Stop being who she was? She looked down at the blade at her feet. It was just a piece of metal now, no longer a part of her, no longer the symbol of power she had carried for years. She felt an unfamiliar emptiness where her certainty had always been. "I do not understand," she admitted, almost to herself. The human took a slow step forward. "I know it is not simple, but you have been fighting everything your whole life. You have carried battles that are not yours, survived wars that could have killed you, and conquered every challenge. Yet it has never ended." The warlord frowned. Her eyes narrowed. "It has always ended. I have survived. I have won. I have." Her voice caught. She stopped. She had no words for this. "You have survived," the human said softly. "But at what cost? You fight because you must. You fight because it is expected. You fight because no one else could stand in your place. But there is more than fighting. There is more than survival." She shook her head slightly, as if to clear it. Her mind raced through memories of battles, of victories, and of the weight of every life she had touched and every enemy she had destroyed. And then she realized something she had never faced. None of it had been her choice. Not really. Every fight, every victory, every life she had taken, she had been pushed into it by expectation, by honor, by necessity, not by desire. The human stepped closer again, still carefully, still respectfully. "I am not here to take your power. I am not here to challenge you. I am here so you can choose. So you can stop being the storm only because the world expects it." The warlord felt her chest tighten. This was no challenge, no duel, no attack. This was something entirely different. It was freedom, and it terrified her. Her warriors looked on, unsure, tense, and afraid. They did not move. They could not move. Their warlord had dropped her weapon. Her stance had disappeared. She was no longer the storm they had followed, feared, and obeyed. She was just a woman standing in the sun, trying to understand what had just happened. "I do not know if I can," she whispered. The human nodded. "I know. You do not have to know yet. But the first step is seeing that you could." The warlord's eyes drifted down to the blade. It had been the symbol of her control, her power, her certainty. Now it lay useless, cold, abandoned. For the first time, she saw it as it really was. A tool, not her. A weapon, not her life. She realized she had given it more importance than any single moment deserved. Slowly, she bent down and picked it up. But she did not raise it. She did not prepare. She held it loosely in her hand, as if testing the weight of it, as if seeing it for the first time. Her warriors tensed. They expected an order, a command, a strike. But none came. Instead, she looked up at the human, and something changed. She lowered the blade completely. Her fingers relaxed. Her shoulders dropped. The tension left her body, replaced with something strange, calm. The human smiled faintly. He did not advance. He did not speak. He simply waited. And the warlord realized, with a quiet shock, that she could step back from everything. She could choose, for the first time, to step away from the endless cycle of battle, of expectation, of survival. Her warriors were still frozen, unsure what to do. But she no longer cared about their expectations. Not now. Not anymore. The warlord finally exhaled. A slow breath that carried years of tension and unspoken fear. It left her body, unleaving her lighter than she had ever felt. "I choose to stop," she said. The words sounded strange, foreign, even to herself. The human nodded. "Then you are free." The wind returned, stronger now, rustling the tall grass in soft waves. The sun touched the horizon, casting long shadows across the plains. Time began to flow again. Movement returned to the warriors. But none dared speak until the warlord spoke first. She turned to face her people. Her eyes, sharp and bright as ever, met theirs. They were confused, uncertain, and afraid. But they also saw something new. A leader who had the strength to stop, who had the courage to break the cycle, who had the wisdom to choose her own path. "You will return to your posts," she said quietly but firmly. "You will respect this moment, and you will follow me. Not because you fear me, but because you understand what I have learned." No one moved immediately, and then slowly, the circle began to dissolve. Warriors lowered their weapons, voices quiet, eyes filled with awe and uncertainty. They had followed her for years, but this was a lesson they had never expected to learn. The human stepped back, giving her space. "It is not over," he said softly. "You will face challenges again. But now you face them on your terms." The warlord nodded. For the first time, she understood what that meant. She did not need to fight to prove herself. She did not need to conquer every challenge. She could choose, and that choice made her stronger than any battle ever had. The plain stretched before her, wide and endless. The sun sank lower in the sky, and the wind whispered through the grass, carrying a new story. A story not of violence or victory, but of choice. And the warlord, storm, leader, warrior, walked forward. Not to fight, not to dominate, not to survive, but to live. Her people watched, understanding slowly dawning in their eyes. The warlord had changed. The storm had stopped, not because it was defeated, but because it had chosen to be still. And somewhere in the distance, the human smiled and turned away, leaving the plains to her, leaving the story to continue, leaving freedom in its place. For the first time, she felt it. A quiet power, stronger than any battle, sharper than any blade, unstoppable because it came from within. She was no longer just the warlord who fought. She was the warlord who chose. And that choice would echo across the plains for years to come. End of Part 4.